Welcome to Distress to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Raber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental health disorders out there, bipolar disorder. In each episode, we'll learn more about my personal journey with bipolar 2 disorder, how I've struggled with it, and how I've learned to overcome those struggles. Together, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and most importantly, we'll have fun. You'll leave each episode feeling hopeful and stocked full of useful information on how you can better yourself and the world around you. Hello, friends. Y'all, I just want to start by saying that the podcast had the biggest month ever last month. And when I say ever, oh my God, y'all, just listen real quick. So, February 2022, which was, the month before last, previously had the most downloads ever until March 2022 came around and doubled February's numbers. Doubled them. Oh my God, y'all. I was totally in disbelief as the numbers just kept shooting up. And while some people don't like to talk about the numbers, I do. Because to me, these numbers, these downloads, every single download is a person being reached. So when I talk about numbers, I say the numbers, but in my head, I'm thinking of actual people. I'm picturing that 300 people listened to this one specific episode. 300 different people. That's 300 different lives for that one episode alone that I was able to touch. And that's exciting for me, you guys. That's super exciting because the more people are listening, the more they're becoming inspired and feeling less alone and getting help that they need. Because that's what this whole podcast was about. Reaching the masses. And I hope to continue to do that and keep growing and growing. And, I want these numbers to increase, not because numbers look great or because stats are so fucking important, but because each individual number is a person whose life I was able to touch. And that's what matters most to me. But you guys, I couldn't have done this without you. So I just wanted to stop and say thank you for tuning into the show. And thank you for subscribing to the episodes and for following on social media and for sharing this show with your friends and your family. Y'all, I love being able to show up for you and to be able to serve you. So if there's a topic that you'd like for me to cover or one that you want me to elaborate a little bit more on, dude, please feel free to reach out. You can do so by heading on over to whatisheybellsdoing.com, which that web address that I just mentioned is actually in the episode description, and you should be able to just click on it or copy and paste it into your browser, whichever. And you can head on over to the contact page and just tell me about what you want to hear next. You can also just leave me a review on Apple Podcast. That's an amazing way to get your point or your thoughts across. I have received numerous emails and reviews and Instagram DMs over the past 2 years from all kinds of different people telling me how this podcast has helped them. And guys, that really, really helps me solidify my decision to be so vulnerable on a public platform. So don't ever hesitate to reach out and give me some feedback or tell me how a certain episode made you feel. I love these things. I do. So don't be shy and just reach out. But regardless, anyways, I would just like to say once again, thank you for being here, friend. Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. I am not bipolar. I have bipolar disorder. And let me first just take a moment to tell you what sparked my interest on this topic. So I'm part of a few different bipolar disorder support groups on Facebook. And while I won't tell you what all is posted in these groups, I will say that all kinds of stuff is discussed, like all types. And for the most part, I really don't engage on other people's posts in these groups unless I actually have some valuable information to share. This is mainly because everybody has different opinions on everything, and we all know way too well that sharing your opinion online in a public platform can really piss off some people who don't agree with you, and now all of a sudden you are stuck in World War III with some randos you never met, nor will you ever meet, who think you are wrong and will do everything they can do to make you feel like shit for having a different opinion than them. We all know damn well that internet trolls thrive on this shit. Okay? Granted, these support groups don't have a ton of this internet nastiness, but I've dealt with it enough in the past in other Facebook groups just to proceed with caution just all the time. Especially because I'm a very strongly opinionated woman. Like, sometimes I just have to keep quiet because I don't feel like dealing with World War III today. But recently, I saw a post that really caught my attention, and I knew I had to say something. So while I don't remember it word for word, the post went something along the lines of, do you tell people that you are bipolar or that you have bipolar disorder? Does it matter which one you say about yourself? Now, responding to this post was something that I could not ignore, especially after reading the comments, and some of those just broke my heart to read. So naturally, I chose to speak up. I took a screenshot of what I said, mainly because I'm so fucking proud of my words, and my therapist was also proud because I read them to her too. Oh, and the author of the post actually responded positively to what I said. So, I'm a humble bragger over here. But this is what I wrote in response to, does it matter which one you say about yourself? Here's what I said. I say I have bipolar disorder because I am not bipolar. I have a disorder, but it doesn't define who I am. I also don't use the term suffering when speaking of my disorder or anyone else's. Sure, there's some suffering to happen within the disorder, but I found for myself that there's so much beauty within it too. I've worked a lot on reframing how I say things, and I make a conscious effort when doing so because it truly makes a difference in how you view yourself as well as how other people view you too. Boom! Mic drop. No, but seriously, y'all, this was something that I learned from my therapist, and I really felt the need to share it. Especially because I know that, unfortunately, not everybody can afford therapy. So whenever I have a good tidbit from my therapist that I can sprinkle around the world to other people, I try to as much as possible. And so I used to talk about myself, quote, being bipolar, and my therapist would always correct me by saying, you are not bipolar, you have bipolar disorder. There's a difference in how you say this, and it's important not to label yourself as bipolar. Okay, so why is this important? And why should I not call myself bipolar? First, before we dig further into that, let's talk a little bit about people first language. So I found this awesome guideline on people first language on a U.S. government website of all places. Yeah, shocking, I know. But it was actually on the Office of Disability Rights. You'll find this link in the show notes, obviously, so don't forget to check that out. And before anybody freaks out that I'm talking about bipolar disorder and disabilities, let me first clarify that while disabilitybenefitshelp.org states that bipolar disorder can be considered a disability if you meet the work and medical requirements outlined in the Blue Book by SSA, it is not always this way. It is not. For some people, the severity of their bipolar disorder will classify them as somebody with a disability, and therefore they can receive help from the government and assistance and aid, whatever they need. But for me personally, I have a less severe diagnosis, and I have learned how to manage my bipolar 2 disorder, which does not classify me as disabled. So keep that in mind. If you are listening and you have bipolar disorder, you are not necessarily considered disabled. Remember that. I will bring that up here again in a minute. Some of you might be, but not everybody is, okay? All right, back to People First Language and what I found on the Office of Disability Rights government website. So they state, the People First Respectful Language Modernization Act of 2006. Oh God, that is a mouthful, y'all. Mouthful. Okay. So this Act of 2006 was enacted by the Council of the District of Columbia on July 11th, 2006 to require the use of respectful language when referring to people with disabilities in all new and revised district laws, regulations, rules, and publications, and all internet publications. People First Language puts the person before the disability and describes what a person has, not who a person is. People First Language uses phrases such as person with a disability, individuals with disabilities, and children with disabilities, as opposed to phrases that identify people based solely on their disability, such as the disabled. So this webpage has a chart of examples, and a few of which contain some mental health examples, but I'm going to give you some really good mental health examples right now. Also, you can feel free to go check out this website on your own and read a little bit more. Again, the link will be found in the show notes. But here are my good examples of People First Language when it comes to mental health disorders. So, you are not schizophrenic, you have schizophrenia. You are not chronically depressed, you have depression. You are not anorexic, you have anorexia. You are not OCD, you have OCD. And you are not bipolar, you have bipolar disorder. Okay, so back to the original question. So why is it so important for me to use People First Language? Well, let me just tell you, this is a topic that is newly being researched and discussed. So I actually had a really hard time finding an article online that wasn't somebody's thesis statement for their doctorate degree. Guys, I am not even kidding you. A lot of these things that popped up were fucking PDF files that were 50 pages long, and it was so-and-so's thesis. And I'm like, dude, this is not what I'm looking for. I even asked my therapist who brainstormed with the other therapists in her office, and even they, as a collective group, couldn't find a good article to better help me explain this to y'all. But interestingly enough, I found the answer I was looking for within a book titled From Supervisor to Super Leader: How to Break Free from Stress and Build a Thriving Team That Lasts by Shonda K. Miller. I know. What the fuck does a management book have to do with mental health? Okay, hear me out, and I promise it all comes together. I promise. So on page 85 of this book, Miller writes, a fundamental attribution error is when we believe someone's behaviors reflect who they are. For example, when we label someone as a flake because they are late for meetings. Instead of focusing on the specific behaviors, we focus on a person's personality or character traits. To prevent us from falling into fundamental attribution error trap, we need to remember to focus on the behaviors and avoid labeling people. When we label someone, this creates a belief that the person cannot change. Instead, we should focus on the behavior. Another trap is the self-fulfilling prophecy. A self-fulfilling prophecy is when we make a prediction based upon our beliefs. Then we alter our behavior based on that prediction, which causes that prediction to come true. Our prediction causes us to act in ways that directly or indirectly bring about the consequences we expect. Wowza. Yeah. Okay, so let's break this down with an example. So let's say that my self-fulfilling prophecy is that I label myself as depressed. I am depressed. Now, because I am depressed, I think my behaviors have to match this label, meaning that I need to be sad all the time, I need to stay in bed by myself, I need to spend hours crying, I am just worthless and I do not deserve to be happy. This is what my I am depressed self-fulfilling prophecy tells me. So now, let's say that my friend invites me to go to a really fun birthday party at the most awesome and extravagant water park in town. So obviously Schlitterbahn Galveston. Just kidding. I had to. If you're from Texas and you've been to either Schlitterbahns, please laugh with me at that one because Galveston ain't shit compared to New Braunfels. We all know that in Schlitterbahn terms. Anyways, back to the point. So everybody is so excited and they are telling me how much fun it's going to be at this birthday party at the water park. But because I am depressed, I really don't think that having fun at a water park for my friend's birthday really fits into my I am depressed label that I've given myself. And so I decide to pass on this fun opportunity that might actually lift my mood, that actually probably will lift my mood, and instead I stay home and watch Netflix in bed all day alone. So do you see what these things can do to people? So when you label yourself or somebody else as something, and you label them and you say they are this, and especially if the person self-labels themselves, or if they hear other people label themselves as that, whatever that is, if they hear that too much, we begin to believe this about ourselves. And then we alter our behavior to be similar to what we predict that we need to do to fit this label. And when we do that, we miss out on opportunities for true joy and happiness because we think that doesn't fit in this box. We think that I can't be happy because I'm depressed. I can't have fun because I'm depressed. I can't eat this piece of cake because I am anorexic. I can't do whatever the fuck it is I want to do because it doesn't fit under this label I have given myself. Or worse, that somebody else has given to me. And guys, for years, I was told that because I was bipolar, that I couldn't be successful, that I couldn't be happy, that I couldn't live on my own or take care of myself, that I couldn't be a college student or learn how to handle my finances correctly. And lastly, that I couldn't be loved by anyone else. And sadly, y'all, for the longest time, I believed these shitty lies because I allowed people to label me as bipolar. And these people who were labeling me this, guys, these were adults. I got diagnosed when I was 16. I was just a fucking kid. And adults in my life were labeling me as bipolar. And so if they say I'm bipolar, it must be true, right? I mean, they're adults. They know what the fuck they're doing, right? But no, absolutely fucking not. These are exactly what I just said they are. They are lies. They are lies that society will tell you. They are lies that bad friends will tell you. And they are lies that even shitty family members and adults in your life will tell you too. But I'm here to tell you to stop listening to them. Just stop and own your truth. Because when you stop listening to what all of these other people have to say about you, and you start to focus on what you feel to be true about you, and you own your truth, and you own your story, y'all, it is the most freeing thing there is. It really, really is. Let me just tell you. Because I've been on both sides of this, and it is absolutely freeing to know that I am not bipolar. I have bipolar disorder. And while things can be shitty and I can struggle sometimes, that's not who I am. It's not. So, listen up, because you are not bipolar. You have bipolar disorder. And while you may also face some obstacles and struggles that are more difficult or intense than the average person might face, you can be successful. You can be happy. You can live on your own and take care of yourself. You can be a college student or hold a long-term job or career. You can handle your finances correctly. And most importantly of all, you can be loved by a romantic partner, just like everyone else. And if anyone tries to tell you differently, dude, let me know and I will go kick their ass. Just kidding. But seriously, just know that you are worthy, you are loved, and you can do anything you set your heart to, okay? So just please, please, never forget that. It's time for What a Weirdo! Okay, y'all, so this segment is here as a way for us to normalize weird habits that we all have, but might not necessarily talk about. And it's a way to create some wholesome laughter at the end of each episode, as sometimes we discuss some pretty heavy topics around here. So if you've been tuning into the show regularly, you've likely heard all of my weirdo habits. So now it's time to send in yours. And today we have an anonymous submission that reads, I hate Oreos. There, I said it. Okay. No wonder they submitted this anonymously, because these are fighting words right there, guys. Oh my God. My partner, Monish, he is completely obsessed with Oreos, and I love them almost as much as he does. So unfortunately, anonymous listener, I really can't relate to this one. So sorry. But I'm sure that some of you out there can. There's got to be more people that hate Oreos. There's got to. So what weirdo habits do you have? Send in your submissions by either sending me a DM on Instagram at distressed2joyful_Baileys Way, or you can anonymously submit one on the website. Yes, you can go to whatisheybellsdoing.com/whataweirdo, and you can anonymously send in a submission there. That's how this person did it. Literally, all you got to do, you can put a nickname if you want. You can put your email if you want. But really, you just got to fill in your fucking weirdo habit and hit submit. So I will always be respectful towards anonymity. Even if all you do is just hate fucking Oreos. But I'm telling you, I understand why you're anonymous, because I'm telling you, those are fighting words right there. Okay, so next episode, we are going to talk about me, my partner, and my bipolar disorder. So y'all, back to the numbers because those numbers don't lie. And the most downloaded episode of all time at this moment, guys, of all time, like more than the very first episode. And the very first episode of every podcast typically has the most downloads. But not here, not this one, because the number one most downloaded episode is Season 1, Episode 15. Part 2, Romantic Relationships plus My Bipolar Disorder. And so I figured it was about time to start talking more about how my partner and I have been able to navigate our beautiful relationship over the past 2.5 years. So this is going to be really, really good, and you don't want to miss it. I'm telling you. So be sure to hit the subscribe button on whichever podcast platform you're listening on. That way you can stay up to date with all of the new episode releases. And if you're not already, please follow the show on Instagram at distressedtojoyful_Bailey's Way. And also, dude, go check out the show notes from this episode. They are written to help you. They're all the resources I talk about. And I put a lot of work into those, just like I do in these episodes. So it'd be really cool if you could check one out and let me know what you think about them. Oh, lastly, don't forget to hit download every time you listen to an episode. I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that in the next episode, but hitting the download button is important because that actually is what shows up as these numbers I talk about. And I'd love to actually see that you're listening. So if you are able to just hit download, dude, help a girl out and just hit download because you're my friend and I appreciate your help. And we're here to help each other, right? Right? Alrighty, but until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye!